We're having to rebuild how our enemies perceive us. And when President Trump said we're not getting a nuclear Iran, you won't have a nuclear bomb, he meant it. They have all the options to make a deal. They should not pursue nuclear capabilities. We will be prepared to deliver whatever this president expects of the War Department.
We have to have enough force and power in the region, just on a baseline, to defend against that possibility. That at some point, as a result of something, the Iranian regime decides to strike at our true presence in the region.
Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi issued the Islamic Republic's most direct threat to the United States in an opinion piece published by the Wall Street Journal. Unlike the restraint Iran showed in June 2025, our powerful armed forces have no qualms about firing back with everything we have if we come under renewed attack. This isn't a threat, but a reality I feel I need to convey explicitly, because as a diplomat and a veteran, I abhor war, Araghchi wrote. The foreign minister went on to repeatedly blame a potential military conflict with the U.S. on Israel. An all-out confrontation will certainly be ferocious and drag on far longer than the fantasy timelines that Israel and its proxies are trying to peddle to the White House. It will certainly engulf the wider region and have an impact on ordinary people around the globe. Before we break down exactly what happened and why this matters so much, please make sure you subscribe to States Brief Network. We're giving you the real analysis. Share this with everyone you know because Araghchi's comments likely refer to Iran's short and medium-range missiles. The Islamic Republic relied on ballistic missiles to target Israel in last year's conflict and left its stockpile of shorter-range missiles unused, something that could be deployed against American bases across the Middle East if conflict erupts. Think about what Tehran is actually saying. Iran showed restraint during the June 2025 12-day war with Israel, limiting its response to long-range ballistic missiles. But now Iranian officials are explicitly warning that restraint is over. If America strikes Iran, will unleash everything in its arsenal, including the thousands of short and medium-range missiles it held back during the Israeli conflict. The arrival of the USS Abraham Lincoln aircraft carrier and guided missile destroyers provides the U.S. the ability to strike Iran, particularly as Gulf Arab states have signaled they want to stay out of any attack, despite hosting American military personnel. The carrier strike group arrived in the Middle East Monday, placing overwhelming American firepower within striking distance of Iranian targets. Middle East nations, particularly diplomats from Gulf Arab countries, had lobbied Trump not to attack. Last week, Iran shut its airspace in likely anticipation of a strike. The USS Abraham Lincoln, which had been in the South China Sea, had passed through the Strait of Malacca by Tuesday, ship tracking data showed. A U.S. Navy official speaking on condition of anonymity said the aircraft carrier and 3 accompanying destroyers were heading west. While naval officials stopped short of saying the carrier strike group was headed to the Middle East, its current heading and location in the Indian Ocean means it is only days away from moving into the region. But here's the twist nobody expected. Iran's bloody crackdown on nationwide protests killed at least 6,126 people, while many others still are feared dead activists, said Tuesday. The new figures came from the U.S.-based human rights activists news agency, which has been accurate in multiple rounds of unrest in Iran. The group verifies each death with a network of activists on the ground. The death toll identified includes at least 5,177 protesters, 214 government-affiliated forces, 86 children, and 49 civilians who weren't demonstrating. The Associated Press has been unable to independently assess the death toll given authorities cutting off the internet and disrupting calls into the Islamic Republic. Iran's government has put the death toll at a far lower 3,117, saying 2,427 were civilians and security forces and labeled the rest terrorists. In the past, Iran's theocracy has undercounted or not reported fatalities from unrest. That death toll exceeds that of any other round of protest or unrest there in decades and recalls the chaos surrounding Iran's 1979 Islamic Revolution. The protests in Iran began on December 28th, sparked by the fall of the Iranian currency, the rial, and quickly spread across the country. Iran's supreme leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei said on Saturday that the protests had left several thousand people dead and blamed the United States. It was the first indication from an Iranian leader of the extent of the casualties. More than 26,300 people have been arrested, according to the human rights activists' news agency. Although there have been no protests for days, there are fears the death toll could increase significantly as information gradually emerges from a country still under a government-imposed internet shutdown since January 8th. Iranians across the country remain afflicted by an unprecedented total internet shutdown that has now lasted nearly 3 weeks. The communications blackout was designed to prevent coordination among protesters and to limit the flow of information about events inside Iran to the outside world. Then the situation took an even darker turn. Speaking during a meeting with top judiciary officials, Monday Chief Justice Gholam Hossein Mohseni Ejei reiterated his promise that no mercy will be shown when prosecuting protest-related cases. He also expressed dismay at any calls for negotiations with the U.S. amid what he called an all-out war and economic blockade against Iran. Some people portray all avenues for confronting the enemy's aggression and coercion as blocked and repeatedly prescribe negotiation with a treacherous enemy, he said, making clear that Tehran's hardliners view diplomacy as capitulation rather than a viable path forward. Iran has repeatedly threatened to drag the entire Mideast into a war, though its air defenses and military are still reeling after the June war launched by Israel against the country. 2 Iranian-backed militias in the Mideast have signaled their willingness to launch new attacks, likely trying to back Iran, after U.S. President Donald Trump threatened military action over the killing of peaceful protesters or Tehran launching mass executions. Both the Houthis and Kataib Hezbollah sat out from Israel's 12-day war on Iran that saw the United States bomb Iranian nuclear sites. The hesitancy to get involved shows the disarray still affecting Iran's self-described axis of resistance after facing attacks from Israel during its war on Hamas in the Gaza Strip. But what intelligence agencies discovered next sent shockwaves through the Pentagon. Iran's ballistic missile stockpile appears largely intact following the June war, with roughly 2,000 heavy missiles still in its arsenal, according to Al Monitor. The outlet cited an Israeli security source saying that Israel's military intelligence had conveyed the assessment to the United States in an indication that Israel is urging Washington to again act to address the threat. Think about what that actually means. Despite Israeli and American strikes destroying much of Iran's air defense network and hitting numerous nuclear facilities, Tehran still possesses approximately 2,000 ballistic missiles that weren't used during the June conflict. These missiles represent the everything we have that Foreign Minister Araghchi is threatening to unleash if America attacks. The U.S.-based human rights activists news agency, which tracks human rights violations in Iran, said nationwide protests continued into the 24th day. The group's aggregated figures showed 629 recorded protests, the arrest of at least 26,314 people, and the confirmed deaths of 4,519 individuals. RANA said 4,251 of those killed were protesters, including 33 children under the age of 18. The United Nations Human Rights Council announced it will hold a special session to address the deteriorating human rights situation in Iran on Friday. Iranian journalist Elahe Mohammadi said on X that for the past day or two, VPN access has worked only sporadically for 30 minutes to an hour at a time, allowing brief internet connections to let people know they are still alive. The city smells of death. In all my life, I had never seen snow fall in Tehran, and not a single person even smile, she wrote. Hard days have passed and everyone is stunned. A whole country is in mourning. A whole country is holding back tears. A whole country has a lump in its throat. Then came the final revelation that changes everything. Analysts warn that Iran's theocracy exits 2025 battered yet still standing, and Tehran is interpreting survival after a punishing war with Israel, regional losses and domestic strain as grounds for taking greater risks in 2026. Iran's deterrence model has been punctured but not abandoned. Instead, Tehran appears determined to rebuild, restoring proxy leverage, advancing missile capabilities, and reasserting influence. The biggest concern for 2026 is the risk ahead. Survival has convinced Iranian leadership that it can endure unprecedented pressure and press forward rather than seeking restraint. Iran threatens to fire back with everything. U.S. carrier now striking range. Foreign Minister Araghchi Wall Street Journal opinion piece, most direct threat. Our powerful armed forces have no qualms about firing back with everything we have if we come under renewed attack. Unlike restraint June 2025 conflict, previously held back short medium-range missiles, now threatening unleash entire arsenal American bases across region, all-out confrontation will be ferocious drag on far longer fantasy timelines. USS Abraham Lincoln arrived Middle East Monday. 3 guided missile destroyers, thousands additional service members, strike capability within range Iranian targets. Gulf Arab states lobbied Trump not attack despite hosting American personnel. Bloody crackdown killed at least 6,126 people. Many others feared dead. Activists verified deaths network ground Iran. 5,777 protesters, 214 government forces, 86 children, 49 civilians. exceeds any round protest unrest decades, recalls 1979 revolution chaos. Iran's government claims 3,117 deaths, labels difference terrorists. Theocracy historically undercounted fatalities. 26 hour 300 arrested. Protests began December 28th. Currency collapse rial spread nationwide. Khamenei said protests left several thousand dead, blamed United States. First indication, Iranian leader extent casualties. Internet shutdown January 8th, nearly 3 weeks total communications blackout. Chief Justice Mohseni Ejei promised no mercy prosecuting protest cases, called situation all-out war economic blockade, rejected negotiations, treacherous enemy. Hardliners view diplomacy capitulation. Iran ballistic missile stockpile largely intact. Roughly 2,000 heavy missiles still arsenal. Israeli military intelligence assessment conveyed Washington. Despite June strikes destroying air defenses hitting nuclear facilities, missiles remain. Houthis Kataib Hezbollah signaled willingness launch new attacks, backing Iran after Trump threatened military action. Previously sat out 12-day war. Shows disarray Axis resistance after Israeli attacks. Iranian journalist Mohammadi VPN access sporadic 30 minutes hour. Brief internet connections let people know alive. City smells death. Whole country mourning holding back tears lump throat. UN Human Rights Council special session Friday addressed deteriorating situation. Verified 629 protests, 26,314 arrests, 4,519 deaths, 4,251 protesters, 33 children under 18. Financial markets nervous. Oil prices rising. Allied nations urging restraint. Tehran interpreting survival grounds greater risks 2026. Deterrence model punctured not abandoned. Determined rebuild, restore proxy leverage, advance missile capabilities. Everything indicates Iran convinced it survived the worst. Belief can endure unprecedented pressure makes confrontation more likely, not less. Survival-shaped conviction press forward rather than seek restraint. American carrier strike group within range. Iranian ballistic missiles ready to launch. Foreign minister explicitly warned restraint over. Chief Justice promised no mercy. Internet shutdown 3 weeks hiding death toll. Protests killed over 6,000 people, the regime desperately clinging to power. Iran is threatening to fire back with everything it has as the USS Abraham Lincoln moves into striking range, while over 6,000 dead protesters prove the regime will do anything to survive. The next 72 hours will determine whether diplomacy prevails or the Middle East explodes into the most catastrophic war in generations. This story continues. Stay tuned.